It's March 1990 over the Belgian countryside. Two F-16s are deployed by the Belgian Air Force after radar spots an ominous object hovering in the air. They see this. You're looking at an actual recording of what was on their flight radar lock-on. In the center of the screen, at an altitude of 7,000 feet, is a diamond-shaped blip. This blip indicates there's something solid in the sky, though it doesn't necessarily represent what this solid object actually looks like. The radar's altimeter, measuring in thousands, indicates the odd object races thousands of feet higher, then plummets back down again at breakneck speed. And it seems to accelerate to 990 knots, or more than 1,000 miles per hour, before bolting out of range. The pilots never make visual contact, but back on the ground, one resident of Brussels claims to capture this footage of three lights in a triangular pattern passing overhead.
This video was shot in March of 1990 over Belgium on the same night of the radar sighting.
A few months later, Belgian Air Force Colonel Wilfred de Brouwer holds a press conference about the incident.
What these pilots detected was well outside the normal flying envelope of an airplane. Sometimes it had speeds between 150 knots till 990 knots, an acceleration which occurred in a few seconds. These speeds would be impossible to tolerate for a human being.
And there's another layer to this story. This wasn't the first Belgian sighting. There'd been a string of strange encounters just months before.
It starts in November of 1989. Multiple reports start coming in of seeing three lights in the sky.
During that first wave of sightings, no less than 30 different groups of witnesses described seeing three bright lights up in the sky.
What they see is that these aren't three distinct lights, but rather 3 points of light on one very large triangular-shaped object.
The witnesses claim to have seen the object slowly glide at low altitude northeast across the Belgian landscape from the town of Liège to the border with the Netherlands and Germany. More than half a dozen police officers working that evening also spotted the mystery aircraft. But it wasn't until months later, when the Air Force picked up that strange UFO on radar and this footage was captured, that they seemingly had proof that this was a technologically amazing craft.
There was nothing that existed that could outperform this F-16 aircraft. But the pilot says that as he's pursuing this object, the object makes essentially a quick turn and deviates off his radar system, and he loses it.
In total, this Belgian triangle was seen by more than 1,000 witnesses over these several months. With so many viewers and the military involved, could this be the real deal? Our experts try to identify both the object on radar and the one that was filmed. Are they one and the same? If so, what could it be? First, astronomer Mark D'Antonio examines the 1990 video.
The important thing here is to notice that there are three objects in the view, and the objects don't get any closer to each other or move apart from each other. They stay near each other, almost as if they're connected in some way through a structure. So we're probably looking at a cohesive, singular object that has lights on it.
So could this be a real triangular UFO? D'Antonio says he's not so sure.
I can never pronounce that this is real. There's no data indicating that it is. I can only say that it's compelling. From my point of view, the jury is still out. So does that make it a hoax? No. Does it make it real? No. But it doesn't take away from the fact that this footage exists of an F-16 Fighting Falcon tracking an object on its radar.
Sources say the ground footage was filmed at around 2:20 a.m., about 2 hours after the F-16 spotted something on their radar. So could these two incidents be connected? And what would that mean? Aviation expert Tim McMillan takes a closer look at that radar data.
What this radar screen is telling us is that essentially this object descended from 10,000 feet to roughly 500 feet or below in just a matter of seconds. To do that, we're talking about something that would have to be moving exceptionally fast, upwards of Mach 40. Those types of G-forces would crush a person.
So, McMillan agrees with the Belgian Air Force. A human couldn't withstand these forces, but maybe an alien could. Well, hang on. McMillan has a different theory as to what the F-16's radar screens may have detected.
I think possibly what we're looking at here is something called Bragg scattering. It's a scattering effect with the radar. Pockets of high humidity, ice crystals, cloud cover, different things like that can actually cause the radar to produce false echo returns. The pilots themselves never visually saw anything, only the radar. In this particular case, I would say that the idea that radar scattering caused these false returns could be a very plausible explanation for it.
But remember, this object was detected on multiple radar systems, so it's unlikely it would be Bragg's scattering in every case. That's why many who've studied this incident remain perplexed. Okay, it's true. The incredibly fast speeds caught on the F-16's radar could be a glitch. But our verdict is genuine UFO. We have no way of confirming if the object seen on radar is the same one filmed in Brussels, but it does seem remarkable that these two pieces of footage came within hours of each other. And decades later, the former Air Force colonel and now retired Major General de Brouwer still can't account for the thousands of UFO sightings reported in Belgium over those months.